All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM here. Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are all doing sharp, refreshed, recharged, and ready to go after a what was it, Memorial Day long weekend. And yeah, feeling good. Got a bit of a weak voice here this morning. Been a little bit sick here this weekend, and for whatever reason, it seems like every time I get sick, my voice is the first thing that goes. So just bear with me here. It's a lot better today than it was yesterday, but maybe still needs like another day or two. So yeah, just bear with me as I kind of figure out my routine there. Besides that, right, we've had a lot of headlines here over the weekend. So, one, right, is that the EU tariffs, which was the driving force maybe of the volatility there on Friday, those are going to be delayed, right, for a 2 months approximately, right, until July 9th, I think it was. So maybe a month and a half, right? So potentially, right, that's creating a little bit of a bounce scenario. The market seems to be eating that up pretty well. We're getting a pretty significant gap up here this morning, and kind of feels like the reverse, right, of what we saw there on Friday. Right, Friday was a really big gap down. That was kind of like a buy the dip opportunity. Today might be a really big gap up, right? That's kind of setting up as a sell the rip type opportunity. So we'll see, obviously, right, where momentum wants to shape up. Maybe it's one of those things where we kind of get back to those kind of grindy markets here a little bit. And yeah, really curious to see basically where the momentum is in play here this morning. And then from there, right, look to basically compound away and kind of get back to our winning ways. All things considered, right, it's been a pretty good trading month here. And as we creep up towards month end, we are going to have a few little extra bouts, right, of volatility. We're probably going to get some, month end selling, maybe even some quarter end selling, right, as we kind of creep up towards the halfway point of the year. And yeah, I think there's a lot of potential volatility still in store for us. So it's going to be really about just maintaining flexibility, maintaining just an ounce of discipline, right? And then from there, hopefully just putting ourselves in good situations so we can really stack up. From a personal perspective, Friday was a tremendously disappointing day, right? Broke a rule and kind of just allowed that execution mistake to turn into a relatively just like kind of frustrating trading day, right? So what should have been probably a green day or a no trade day ended up being effectively the opposite of that. I was basically looking to try to like make back my mistake or, justify making it, however you want to describe it. And that honestly just made things worse. And that's not something that I'm particularly proud of, something I need to continue to work on and focus on a little bit here. Because it does kind of feel like recently when I have those bad days or I have a red day, it like kind of flirts with this with disaster a little bit too much, and I don't like that sensation. I think that's a kind of like a risky way to go. And yeah, excited, right? Obviously for like where my trading is at, but there's still things that I need to fix and need to improve. And so really focusing on those elements here this morning and hopefully, right, can kind of take advantage of the volatility that's in store, but then just kind of have like a less stressful existence and yeah, not get myself in situations where I make dumb mistakes or do anything along those lines. So with that being said, I don't have too much else to say here this morning. And yeah, hopefully we can kind of set ourselves up for what should be a strong trading day and hopefully, right, take advantage of whatever volatility is in store for us. So first things first, right, check out the economic calendar here for the day. We kind of are putting a few things into one here. We got some Fed speak. We got consumer confidence fine. We got Fed minutes tomorrow. That should be interesting. And besides that, right, not too crazy of an economic calendar. So that's kind of a positive. Cool. Hey, welcome back, Preet. So, team, yeah, what's the count here on ES? Let's start there, and yeah, let's figure it out. Yeah, spot on, Mike. Right. So Friday, it was a red candle, increasing volume, right, and then today, pretty significant gap up. This morning's gap up, right, is already above Friday's high. So that kind of invalidates, right, a lot of that like quote unquote selling pressure. Kind of looks like a failed breakdown move there on Friday. And if we're thinking back to where price action was, right, it was that move was effectively happening overnight. That wasn't like that big red day, right? It was happening overnight. It wasn't something that necessarily was sustaining in the morning. So potentially invalidated it here, right? A little bit. So there are reasons to be a little bit flexible. Now, talked about this on Friday, probably worth talking about it again here today. But we've had an implied range higher of, or implied move open 1.58% within implied volatility here of, let's just do some quick math. An implied move of 1.27%, right? So the gap up here is kind of larger than the implied volatility that one would get. So we want to be maybe just a little bit cautious that like that upside move isn't effectively out of momentum. Maybe the path of least resistance here could be to the downside this morning, or like a day of consolidation while we wait for markets to kind of get out of there, like one day up, one day down type balance. So I do think on all-time highs are within striking distance. Probably need to stop at 6,000 first. So we're at 5,900 here pre-market. And I think that path towards 6K is in play, but just want to be a little bit cautious here to the upside. Well, so you were placing trades yesterday, Igor? Is that what you're saying? So yesterday, right, it was the stock market that was closed, not necessarily the futures market, right? So if it's a market holiday, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a market holiday across every single index or every single asset class. It was a stock market holiday. All right. So to the downside, yeah, and that's why we didn't trade, right? Because the amount of participants and volatility that would be in play is minimal. So to the downside here, we'd be looking for a move towards 5,800, right? It's kind of be our starting point. And then we'll go like 50. What was that? What's Friday's low? Like 57.60. Yeah. Cool. All right. Yes, makes sense. Beautiful. All right. NQ. Similar story, not so similar. How do we feel? Yeah, same thing, right? Kind of a lot of volume there on Friday, but not necessarily being sustained, right? We're gapping up above that rejection there. And so we're kind of invalidating it to a certain extent. Now, again, our biggest concern here is that the move has happened in the overnight price action, right? So, the traders who are just like Igor and couldn't wait to trade, they're bumping up, right? Sort of the enthusiasm here for us a little bit. And maybe this is just like a natural profit taking area instead of like a continuation move. We've already talked about this here to a certain extent, but the implied move on the indexes is like 1.27%, something along those lines, 1.3%. And we're almost at a 2% move here pre-market. So it tells us that we maybe need to be a little bit cautious here. And yeah, like, slow us down here just an incy-bincy bit. It's 21,300 here pre-market. So we're going to be targeting 21.4, pushing up towards 22,000. And then to the downside here, right, and move towards 2,700 with stops along the way of 2,900. I think makes a lot of sense. So path of least resistance, short term might be to the downside here today. Long term, it kind of seems like we're in a little bit of a grind move or grind mode, basically in between headlines. And if that's the case, right, then the path of least resistance is probably here to the upside. So maybe there's like a little bit of a divergence here between the short-term narrative and the long-term narrative. And let's see if that creates any choppy conditions for us here this morning. Really what I want, right, more than anything, and this is a little bit selfish, but I want a smooth trading day where I can get one good trade, maybe two good trades, and then I can just shut up and not have to use my voice. So I got a little bit of a broken voice box here today. So kind of just looking for smooth trading conditions, right? All right, CL. Green candle, decreasing volume, gap down, right? So we're at 1 for 3 conditions here. Not exactly a level of like tremendous enthusiasm. What's interesting about this 1 for 3 is that there's already a fake out here to the upside. That's kind of a theme we've seen here pretty much across the board. All of our pre-market tickers have given us a move above that Friday high. So it's like a little bit maybe of there is a sign of like enthusiasm here right now. On CL, it's not sustaining, it's failing. On the indexes, it's sustaining. So there's, again, maybe a slightly different story there for us to be aware of. But the path down towards like $60, right, on NQ very much in play, right, which is approximately, Friday's low, and then that 59.50, yada, yada, yada. To the upside might be a little bit more challenging here this morning. But like levels wise, I don't think I need to change here too much. We're still going to be targeting. I'm going to call it. I don't think I need to change any levels to the upside, to be honest. 61.50, 62, yada, yada, yada. To the downside, fine, fine, fine. So I don't think I need to change too much from that perspective. This, like, CL has been in a gross kind of holding pattern here for a little bit. I mean, if I'm being like really aggressive, I could call this like maybe a cup and handle type scenario. If I'm like trying to find that bullish pattern here, if I'm being maybe I was gonna say realistic. I don't know if realistic's the right word. But like I could maybe argue that it's a wedge as well, right? So you're gonna have a wedge here. Oops, wrong button. And then like a wedge here, or it's like, cup and handle, or it's like a triple top rejection. There's like, a billion different patterns that could be in play here on this CL. And effectively, until we basically get separation away from like that $63 handle, I think it's going to continue to look relatively indecisive and relatively challenging. So I'm not super, or I don't really crave aggression here. I kind of think that it's worth being a little bit patient and a little bit cautious. All right. Apple, 3 for 3 here to the upside, a weak 3 for 3. Tesla, inside bar, maybe bull flag breakout here. Okay, Microsoft, 2 out of 3 to the upside without volume. And we'll call this a weak 2 out of 3. Okay, Amazon, same thing. Weak 2 out of, oh no, it's a strong-ish candle. Let's call this a 2 out of 3 without volume. And if we're seeing without volume, right, big gap ups, what does that generally set ourselves up for? Any thoughts? What do we think? Earnings tomorrow on NVIDIA. Yeah, it sets us up for like a mean reversion move, right? So generally big gap ups that aren't supported by volume like to kind of revert to the middle. So maybe today we're setting ourselves up for a mean reversion day. Okay, Meta weak 3 for 3. Netflix weak 3 for 3. Google big gap up. I'm going to call this a 1 for 3. And then we already talked about the VIX a little bit, right? But it's a 20 spot 4-3 handle. So implied range here today of about 1.27%. So we'll call that 1.3%. The gap ups this morning are larger than that implied move. So it's going to be a little bit of like a catch your breath for a second type scenario, and then kind of go from there. If I'm thinking about my trading here recently, I did a little bit of time reflecting this weekend as I was sipping basically just ginger tea, is like my best trades are coming a little bit later on in the morning, right? I'm getting more stressed, more agitated, more annoyed, more bitchy, more frustrated with price action on those like early moves. And I'm making more mistakes, right? So almost like as if you have to like shake out all the weak participants prior to jumping on board. And that needs to be more of my priority. Like wait for that weak price action to get taken out and then just have that easy day. I'm not having those easy days. I'm making them more difficult for myself here to a certain extent. And I don't want that. That's no fun. It's a pain in the butt. So I want to be more deliberate here. I want to like wait out the weakness. And then once that happens, right, it's easy to get that kind of smooth move prior to that, it's a little bit frustrating. It's a little bit challenging. It's a little bit whatever. And I'm draining more mental capital, basically waiting for price action to give me my A plus setup instead of just waiting for my A plus setup. And the trader who I am, when I lose mental capital, it's not a good trader, and I'm more likely to make mistakes like I made on Friday, where like I didn't have a stop loss set and then was basically just like white knuckling a trade, right, hoping it was going to work out or get bailed out. I want to avoid those sensations. Those aren't profitable, they aren't successful, and they aren't a good reflection of who I am as a trader. So I'm really focusing on those elements. Besides that, I am optimistic that it should be a good week. I mean, I think we're a really resilient bunch here, and I think we have a tremendous amount of ability and skill, and the technique in place to be able to be really successful here. So I am looking forward to kind of getting back on track and like getting rid of that like feel sorry for yourself type sensation. Again, my voice is like a little bit weak here this morning. I was sick all weekend, so maybe that's good karma for just being a bad trader there on Friday. Body maybe was telling me something there, but excited to be back here trading this morning. I actually woke up like really ready to go, really roaring to go. I'm pumped to be here. I think it's going to be an interesting week. And yeah, can kind of go from there. So any questions here, team? Anything? Any questions? I hope a few of you guys took advantage of all the promos that were available to traders at various prop firms this weekend. There were a bunch of Memorial Day sales. Like Apex did 90% off. Tradeify did like 30% off or something along those lines. So hopefully you guys picked up a couple accounts or anything along those lines. I personally picked up another Tradeify account. Top Step will do discounts, but they tend to do them like Black Friday-ish only. And yeah, can go from there. In general, guys, I would start to veer away a little bit from Apex for those of you who are Apex traders. I've not been liking a lot of their I almost like say they're like kind of gaslighting traders a little bit. So they've been sending out emails of like people who have gotten big payouts in the past that basically you're not able to buy any more evaluations until you get moved to live. But if you don't have any active accounts, they're saying you can't buy any new evals. So they're kind of like soft banning people to a certain extent, which I don't like. I think it's kind of a bad sign in my opinion. So obviously, Apex still has like some of the biggest payouts in the industry, and they do all those sort of things. But their cheapo model maybe is being a little bit tested here, and so I'd be a little bit hesitant to want to use them personally. But yeah, besides that, everything looks okay. I'm excited to see how the day shapes up, and then hopefully from there, right, we can have ourselves a really strong session. Any questions here, team? Any questions? All right, with no questions, I'm going to go make myself a quick cup of tea. Spend a few minutes here sort of visualizing a successful trading day. And then we'll jump back on in a few minutes and we'll get ourselves set up for what should hopefully be an interesting trading session. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes here, team, and we'll break things down then. All right, team. So yeah, let's get after it here this morning, right? Let's see where market volatility kind of comes into play. Again, we're probably expecting it to be a little bit more of like a mean reversion day, at least potentially early versus like a huge breakout continuation type day. Obviously, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it and when we see what the volatility looks like here this morning. But yeah, it should be an interesting first day back. A lot of headlines this weekend, a lot of stories. Market seems to be treating even some like questionable headlines as extremely bullish, right? Which also potentially might slow me down here a little bit if I'm looking for that textbook mean reversion look. But I am optimistic about the opportunities that should be in store here today. And really what my focus is on is just being technically proficient here, right? Those scenarios where I feel like I lose my edge a little bit, right, is where I start to get sloppy around my details, right, or around my like basic executions. I don't want to be that trader here. I want to be a little bit more in control, right, a little bit more structured, and just like really protecting my mental capital. I didn't do that very well on Friday, and yeah, kind of paid the price for it. So today, right, really making sure that I'm like correcting back to that, and yeah, having myself a really strong day off of that. There's a few things that I'm testing in the background, and it's not testing from a strategy perspective. I'm still relatively confident in my technique and things along those lines, but I'm trying to test out a slightly different way of potentially like journaling my trades and getting back to doing those recap videos. Honestly, for the last like, that's probably why I got a little bit sick. First world problems, but like I've been living in my place now for 3 weeks, a little bit over 3 weeks. I've had guests here. I was doing the calculations. Today is May 27th. I've had people staying in my house 18 of the 27 days. And I've got more people coming here today. I got my sister coming into town for a day here tonight. And I've kind of like lost my rhythm a little bit with how I'm reviewing and like studying my trades. So I'm trying to come up, or I have an idea of how I'm going to try to manage that a little bit differently. And hopefully, right, can really take advantage of this. I'll make a video on it once I'm confident with that process. But something that I am kind of looking in the background at, right, just try to make sure I'm taking care of all those things. And yeah, just maybe lost or degraded my edge a little bit just with a lack of consistent review. You guys have been seeing that even just in the recap videos. Hard to do them when someone's sleeping in your office. But yeah, enough excuses here. Let's have ourselves just a really good trading day and see how things go. So already here this morning, we've had a couple mean reversion setups like ding for us in the background. I don't know if you guys heard those alerts pop off. But that could certainly be something that's in play here. I'm going to be very patient with these mean reversion setups. If I'm even looking at pattern wise, right, how those mean reversions come together, my 2 trades where I've broken rules this year have been on mean reversion ideas. And so the setup here is really strong and really powerful, and it has a tremendous amount of potential. But for whatever reason, I'm a little bit sloppy on my execution around this technique, and it's leading to stressful trades, which is not fun. Very good volume to open up the day. So let's see if these want to give us 5-minute looks. That could be interesting. Or more interesting, I should say. Okay, so those are 5-minute dings on both ES and NQ. And we're looking at a move of approximately, what, 140 points. Gosh, 140 looks like nothing. So you're looking at approximately 21.95 as our target here. And then a 240 as our stop loss. Call it 239.50 as the stop loss. So within striking distance already, right? For sure. And then honestly, just like triple checking, right? All my potential executions here as we shape up. So I'm watching. I am watching for a downside move. I would need like a 215 or better as an entry. I'm watching closely here, team. And let's see how the day shapes up. Okay, so maybe didn't get it on that entry. Bit bouncy around this 200. Close, so watching. Very much within striking distance. So watching here very carefully. Okay, there's that first attempt. Come on. Again, so looking above 215, we've teased it a little bit here. And I'm looking for a short, right? I'm looking for a short, one contract. And I'll watch this pullback. All right, guys. So I am in one contract. Average price 220.75 short. Stop loss 240. And let's see if this thing's got the juice for us. And what I want to be a little bit more aggressive on is just protecting myself, right? If the trade isn't behaving the way that I want, I don't need to be pot committed to that. I can just get out for a small loss. I don't need to be like stubbornly attached to it. Like it's better to take $100 loss, right? Or a $50 loss or a $200 loss than a $500 loss. Okay, that was an NQ 10 min reversal signal. Whatever, for some reason, I've got those set as different alerts, which is kind of annoying. Okay, I just got stopped out on that pullback. So again, now we could be looking here as this is a 10-minute example. And it's a bit of a frustrating stop out. So that's minus 405.76. We can try this again potentially. Yeah, you should be able to hear me. I think my voice should be here. I mean, I see everything working fine, Jonathan. YouTube, can you confirm? Can YouTube hear me? All right, cool. All right, let's potentially try this again. Stop loss 250. Need 225 or better. A bit unlucky with that first trade. Okay, so back in business here potentially. All right. So I'm back in here, 226. Stop loss 250. Let's see if this thing can break down. Not a perfect entry. Let's see. Those are just 15-min reversal signals. Yeah, I'm not getting good entries here. A little bit maybe premature entries. Put the stop again. Oh, fuck me. All right. Now we have one last way of being able to play this. The stop basically at high of day. Maybe that should have been the original. Excuse me. Okay, so watching here, right? Watching again. Sounding a little bit like I'm trading in an insane asylum. $948. 270. All right, trying this again here. 273 entry, 273 entry on the dot. One contract again. Let's see if this one can at least get us green. Come on. There it goes. Much, much better. Okay, so we got to see this really sell off aggressively under 260 now, right? There we go. There's 260. All right, fantastic. So much, much better shape here. 23 points. Don't like that little pullback. Get back under 260. Come on. Generally don't like those failed moves and then retests. Those generally aren't fantastic. So this thing's got to separate lower here quickly. Otherwise, I got to get out and just take the 40 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever it is. A little bit too bouncy. Yeah, I wouldn't say this is behaving the way that I would want, truth be told. The failed move is what's bothering me. The failed attempts to recover. So let's see if this thing can break down and I can just look to get out. Come on. Come on, break down. This is your spot here, NQ. If you don't do it here, got to get out. Come on. So bouncy. Flush, flush, flush. Let's go. Here it goes. Here it goes. Breakdown. Don't like that again, right? Gets down under, then gets back up above entry price. It's just not behaving super healthy. We've given this thesis every chance here today. Yeah, I got stopped out again. Pain in the butt. All right, well, let's wait out market data here. We got a few minutes. Ooh. All right, so let's see if we get a reaction here to data. It kind of looks like it's maybe a breakout. Just saying that the ORB is not loading. There it is. So now we're trying to judge this volume, right? Are we going to get enough enthusiasm here to the upside to justify a breakout? All right, so it looks like it's breaking out here, right, to the upside, pretty much across the board. Target here is going to be 21.4. That's good volume. And maybe should just waited for this. We got to be careful about basically the pullback scenario, right? Can't pull back too far. Let's see how this thing closes. Immediately goes aggressive, so that's going to be the bias, right? And let's see where it finds support here. Okay, watching. Stop loss 229. Let's see. 226.75. 1675. Sorry, 326. Whoops. Okay. And watching closely here. Pretty tight risk, so I might be able to get some good position sizing. All right, guys, so I'm in 333. Stop loss is 26. And I have 4 contracts here, 4 contracts. And already up here, $500. So I'm going to be very careful how I manage this, right? Might just have to scalp my way into a green day here. Don't do this. Okay, much better. I will not let this go red, guys. I will not let this go red. Yeah, it's got a bounce here. See. At 600, keep pushing. Not the strongest looking candle, truth be told. Come on. Come on, get over 40. It doesn't want to break out over 40. We just got one more crack at it. I'm feeling a little bit, if it hasn't happened yet, right? Why? Again, trying to get over this 40 handle. It keeps getting stuck there and dying. Come on. Keeps like reloading though, right? Which is kind of frustrating. It maybe makes me feel like my thesis is correct, but timing is not perfect. So see if we can get this thing to break out. There we go. Watch, watch, watch. Keep pushing, keep pushing. Keep pushing. It's an okay candle. So now let's see if this thing can really pop. There's kind of a bit of a psycho in me that wants to pyramid this. The other part of me wants to take this 1,200 bucks and just run. All right, let's even keep going. I mean, this could push me green on the day. Again, it's like, why don't I just wait till 10 a.m.? That's 350, right? So you can give me a big pop through, and then I can look to get out. So looking for like basically a quick overreaction move. There's 52. Keep going. Keep going. 53. That's 1,600. Come on. Keep going. Keep going. Feels like it's right on the cusp. Yeah, that's fair, Brooke. I'm still going to try to trust this out a little bit longer because it's not giving me any reason to get out. Okay, guys, I have pyramided in here. I have pyramided in. Average price is now 342.75. 342.75. And I'm looking for this thing to really start to push here. Really start to push. Come on. Come on, or NQ. I believe in you. That's 16 again. Keep pushing. Go, go, go. 18. There's 2000. 21, 22, 25. Here we go. Fantastic. 3K. Keep flying here. Keep flying. And I'm going to look to get out here pretty quick, guys. Pretty soon, I'm going to be looking for my exit. Next decent sized pop here, I'm getting out, okay? $361. Come on, come on. You got this. Push, push, push. Yeah, it's almost 4K. Keep going, keep going. Keep pushing, keep pushing. Hmm. Come on. Not a super strong close. I got to look to get out here as my P&L is increasing. I'm trying to get around that 60 handle, right? Around that 60 handle is my exit if I can get it. My finger is on the trigger here, team. My finger is on the trigger. Come on. I have a weird trading day so far. 354. Come on, give me that next big pop. Come on, come on, come on. Go, go, go. Come on, come on. Give me a pop over 60. You're so close. So watching carefully here, team. Watching very, very carefully. 3 points away. Come on. Gosh, this patience is killing me a little bit. Okay, watching. This is going to be the spot here. This is going to be the spot. Give me a pop. Come on. Just a little one. There it goes. Watch. Here's the moment, guys. Here's the moment. All right. I am all out. I am all out of that trade for plus 33.73.92. All out. Plus 33.73.92. And why didn't we just wait for that in the first place, right? It's so frustrating. So really good trade, right? It was a great breakout. Nice little win. Again, made that more difficult on myself than I needed to, which is frustrating. Kind of been the theme of the day, or theme of my month. I've had kind of a weird feeling here recently, where it's like those trades where I have that really tight risk and more contracts, I almost feel more calm than on the trades where I have 25 points of risk but only one contract. I'm not sure if that's the right sensation to have, but I'm feeling that a lot more. And that should definitely have put everyone nicely green here on the day. But we took the long way around for sure. Frustrating. Very frustrating. Yeah, so I got to 8 total contracts, Jeff. 8 total. So I bought approximately when I was 20 points away from my original entry. So I bumped up my average price by 10. Oh. Honestly, I might have to just start doing my prep at 9:30 and then start trading at 10, because the trades I get right around 10 a.m. are so much stronger. Or there's such a higher probability. It seems like from my data that it's frustrating. So Cole, how'd you miss that entry? What were you looking for price wise? Again, I closed that trade maybe a little bit too early. Exit price was 364. Oh, that's annoying, Cole. So I definitely left a few dollars on the table on this, but I'm not going to complain. That was a good result. Frustrating day, but a good result. taking the long way around to be up $1,500. Like as much as, my system is basically built out so that I have margin for error, right? So that if I'm wrong, I'm going to use this term loosely, but I can take effectively a bunch of speculative shots for getting the direction correct and then only needing one trade, right, to bail me out. Like I could have gone 0 for 6, right, on the day and still made back my money here today, which is kind of frustrating, right? Because it's not fun to lose that much, but being able to pyramid into positions and build up that position sizing, it makes a big difference. Nice work, Kiki. I mean, only 3 contracts. That's still a tremendous amount of position sizing. So that's good work. How's everyone feeling? Everyone feeling okay? Not the easy start to the day, right? I get that. So I've taken 4 trades here. Just got out of a position about 5 minutes ago for about $3,300. So for now, kind of waiting for things to set back up and like reset. Let's go, Kenneth. That's a great day, man. Congratulations. And hopefully we can get another clean opportunity here. I'm in this, it almost feels like a transition period. And I mean this in a really positive way. It's like like I've been more aggressive in pyramiding here in the last few weeks. And it's had a tremendous amount of extra upside for me, which has been incredibly positive. But it's also maybe they got me a little bit sloppy around the edges a little bit. Where like yeah, like I'm not. I want to be careful how I phrase this, but it's like I'm waiting for trades to give me more separation so that I can pyramid in instead of getting out of trades when they're not behaving the right way. And so I got to find that balance of fighting that, almost call it greed, because I think pyramiding is kind of closely related to it. Like I got to find that balance. Because if I can get that just 2 trades a day, right, where they're textbook pyramid opportunities, and I don't start the day off 0 for 3 or 0 for 2 or 0 for 1, P&L is going to double. And so I need to find that balance a little bit. I'm not finding it as well as I need to. It's kind of like the puzzle I need to solve for. So that's something I'm focused on. Yeah, I got to think about that a little bit. How's everyone feeling this morning? Everyone feeling okay? That's awesome, Rebecca. Congratulations. Love to hear that. Like, it's really nice to be green, right? I'm not complaining about being green. I just feel like I'm walking uphill a little bit too much. If that makes sense, right? Like, my trading's been pretty good from a P&L perspective, but I think that there are some things that I can tweak and improve to even make it even smoother and even better. And I know for sure from, like, as an educator, right, and someone who's sharing my trades, the less losses I have, generally the better everyone trades, right? There's less like mental capital risk if our first trade of the day is green. It's easier to solve to like protect green days than it is to like try to make back for a green day. And like even I mean, I'm not immune to those same mistakes, right? Like if you guys saw on Friday, like I got kind of frustrated with myself and I got annoyed and I got bitchy and I got frustrated. It's because you start the day off with a couple of losses, right? It kind of beats you up mentally. It does, yeah. It does constantly seem like, yeah, my trades around 10 a.m. are much better than my trades around 9:30. Again, I'm not complaining about being green. Happy to be green. Happy to have a nice bounce back. But I think that there are things that I can improve, right? And that's kind of what I'm trying to hold myself to. Like we're trying judging yourself on your process, not your P&L, is also important, right? When you are green. And that's kind of what I'm trying to fight here a little bit, if that makes sense. I think maybe the way of describing it is I don't like I'm trading well, but I'm not trading the path of least resistance. Right. And least resistance in this context is like from a mental perspective. And that yeah, it's just making my job harder than it needs to be. Like I'm like dating the cousin of self-sabotage. Not quite self-sabotage, but it's like a little bit of crazy that I don't need to deal with. And I think I'm sure you guys all noticed this, but like when my mental capital reserves get burnt out or when they get evaporated during a trading day, and it happens to absolutely everyone, right? Everyone has those moments where they get frustrated or annoyed or whatever. I don't become nice to work with. I kind of become a bit of a prick. And that is like a fully self inflicted wound. It's interesting. Like, and maybe this is a little bit too introspective here, but like when I worked institutionally, like managing stress was not a huge priority. um, like my portfolio manager, Al, like really smart trader, really good trader, really interesting guy. But he had like a on his floor in his office, he just had like broken monitors that he would break, and he almost got like normalized to that. But I think the reason why, like a big reason why I left that job in general is because I felt like burnt out and exhausted and like too stressed out, among other things. And so I don't want that stressed out state to be my normal trading state. I think that's where I'm least effective as a trader. It's a weird sensation because on paper I should be really happy with my P&L here today, but I'm actually more annoyed than I am satisfied. Yeah, yeah, I definitely feel more annoyed than satisfied. I mean, maybe we have an opportunity to play some of these. Yeah, and generally, Brooke, I think we do a pretty good job of that, like 80% of the time, maybe 90% of the time. And it's like I said, it's really important, right? Like one of the things I learned from sports, I played as a goalie, right? In pretty much every sport I played in besides lacrosse and like the sports where there is no goalie. And one of the things about being a goalie is you get scored on a lot, right? Be it in soccer or in hockey or um, whatever, any other sports that you might have played. And so you have to like not allow being down 1-0 or 2-0 or 3-0 to like impact you and get tilted and annoyed. And so the one thing that you would do, right, is you would apply like a 24-hour rule, right? Okay, you can like think about the goals that you conceded for 24 hours. And then once you're, or even the saves that you made, right, for 24 hours. And then you got to move on, right? And like think about something else. And so, like, forcing myself to take something that I've learned from each trade, I think will allow me to employ a better 24-hour rule and like maintain more mental capital and provide better analysis, right? Be less ego attached to decisions, all that kind of fun stuff. Because like today's a green day, but it doesn't really feel like one. I feel, yeah, there's no dopamine today for having a good trade. And I think that's my brain telling me something, right? So investigating that feeling and like trying to figure out the root cause of it, that's kind of like the homework assignment. So I should be more excited about today than I am. Or I should be happier with my trading today than I am. And maybe I'm a little bit sick, like you guys can hear my voice. My voice is really weak. Maybe that's like influencing me a little bit, but yeah, I feel happy with the win, but I feel like I should have had a lot more. My PNL should have been doubled. Maybe that's kind of what's compounding a little bit. There have been multiple days like this in the last month where, yeah, I've taken the long way round and like almost like lost money just for the sake of feeling alive and then having to like make it back with one trade. I don't like that sensation. I don't like that feeling. Again, happy to be green, right? P&L is fine here today. But I don't think I took the easy path. I think I took the path that was most difficult. And so that's a little bit frustrating. It's kind of eating me up a little bit. How's everyone else feeling? You kind of had to hear me rant and rave here a little bit. Yeah, and I think that's it, Nautilus, right? Like it should be smoother. Right now, it's not been super smooth. It's been kind of bumpy. Yeah, that's good, Rico. Yeah, it's like we're gonna get there in the end, but we're driving through a lot of potholes at the moment. So it's like, yeah, you might get there, but you might, you know, fuck up your car a bit right on the way. Hmm. Yeah, I didn't expect myself to be this introspective today. Something's not sitting right. And again, it's got nothing to do with the PNL. PNL's fine. PNL's great, but I think yeah, something's bothering me. Yeah, I don't know, Ajay. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems a little bit um Yeah, like that second solution maybe would be the easier answer. And so like I guess the thing that I'm trying to figure out here, I guess a little bit internally, um, yeah, if I can get a nice reversal candle, I'd be into it. We've been stuck here at these highs. But yeah, like, and I need to, I'll spend some time. I mean, eventually, once I get, oh my gosh, some people just leaving me alone, where I can just work. And I don't mean that from you guys. I've just literally had like, had family or friends here for like 80% of my time. And I'm like a little bit introverted in general. And so dealing with people constantly and like having to entertain drains my social capital. Um, where I don't maybe have the time to like I don't know reset or like take care of myself or exercise as much as I want. Where I can keep those things sharp, but I mean that's a me problem. Um, but yeah, like I need to do a little bit of a deep dive on my data because it does feel like those trades that happen around 10 a.m. are much more successful than the trades that happen at 9:45. And I wonder if that's twofold, right? Is it A, that it's, yeah, market's just trying to shake everyone out and then making the move, right? And then breaking down or breaking out? Or is it almost like I have this, it's almost like, do I need like a warm up trade, right? Like, I need to like, there's that Jesse Livermore quote, right? You don't know what the market is going to do until you place a bet. I wonder if I'm almost like living that out too much. Where like my first trade of the day is, or even first couple of trades of the day are like speculative and give me the information I need for my third trade or my second trade or my fourth trade. And if that's the case, right, then that probably is an indication that my prep is missing something. So I got to figure that out. And yeah, guys, like Jen, I appreciate you making that comment. Like my objective here is to always be like transparent and honest over my process. It's not always going to be pretty, but I can always promise you to be like, yeah, authentic with myself or authentic with my process and like break down how I'm thinking or why I'm thinking that way. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's pretty, sometimes it's ugly. But yeah, like how many days do I have to start, down 1,200 bucks before I start making money? It's not super sustainable. So for whatever reason, you got warning signs flashing. I got to listen to them. It kind of seems like it's just a grind mode higher at this point. 7:45 to 10:45. Again, nicely green on the day, but dumb. Should have been up 3,500 bucks today, maybe more. Instead, I'm up, a little bit less than that. Everyone feeling okay? Kind of made today about myself, so apologies. Is everyone feeling okay in general? Um, they just have more payout restrictions. Right. So most of them just really cap how much payout you can take out, and they kind of make it like a little bit arbitrary. So like yeah, you skip the eval stage and you can get some payouts. But I think it's easier to make 10,000 on a eval to then funded versus it is to make 10,000 on a straight to funded, if that makes sense. So like effectively the way that it goes, right, is it's like I'll generate X amount of P&L and then they advertise like a 90% profit split. But in practice, I'll get like 5% of the P&L that I generate, maybe 10. And so I don't really get the value of it. I have to make so much more money to get paid out versus um yeah, going through the eval stage and then getting a funded account. The other thought I've been playing with around a little bit here is like maybe just only trading personal accounts again and just putting all my focus and energy into that. Nice work, Norm. Enjoy your day, mate. And the reason why I say like maybe I want to trade my personal exclusively is just because of how complicated my execution is starting to get. Like I don't think that it's a coincidence that as I add more order windows and like try to sync everything up and get it all kind of rocking and rolling, that I'm making more operational mistakes. Like it's not a coincidence. Something to think about. Yeah, but the family fund that I'm trading with AJ is, no offense, much more than that. All right, like the family fund I'm trading with is a couple million. Like I'm not going to be restricted from a position sizing perspective. Yeah, no worries, no worries. Like I've been trading this family fund for like 5.5 years now, almost 6 years. and it's grown pretty significantly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got a little bit lucky to a certain extent. Like, once I went out solo and started trading for myself, my dad gave me like a little bit over 100K to basically like turn into whatever. And so that was kind of the starting point for the family fund. And then during the pandemic, turned that to like 1.1 ish million in about 14, 15 months. And then it's just been kind of steady growth since then. So I had like a pretty big head start. High volume indecision is not for me. I'd wait it out. Like truth be told, to your team, I don't think I'm going to place another trade because I'm happy with the PNL, but I'm not super happy with my process here today or like how I got to my PNL number. It's something just feels a bit, I don't know, it just doesn't feel great. Like I feel like I kind of greaseballed it a little bit today. So the risk, right, of taking a trade and giving back my PNL, there's a greater risk of like going on tilt than the feeling of being up now $2,500 would be, right? Of adding $500 or $1,000 to my PNL. That's going to feel worse than, or it's not going to feel as good as the bad would be if I gave it all back. I think from like an execution perspective, like my risks are skewed a little bit. Because yeah, I don't, I'm not super thrilled with today. And all things considered, we've not missed out on much, right? We closed at 64. And okay, it's gone up a little bit, but it's kind of been hovering 10 points higher, 10 points lower, 10 points higher, 10 points lower. So I don't think I've missed out on anything here. Yeah, I don't know. Weird feeling day. So, team, any questions here this morning? I know it's kind of a weird vibe here today, so I apologize for that. Thanks, Rebecca. So, one last thing. So I got a have like one of those like GPS watches. It's like one of the Garmin ones. I use it for my exercise and for like running and stuff like that. But they have this feature that like tracks your stress. And my stress like peaked on Friday. Yeah, and we kind of talked about that a little bit on Friday too, Ajay, which I think is why it was so frustrating. It was like, let's not do anything that ruins the long weekend. And then kind of ruin the long weekend, right? At least I did for myself. And then, I mean, I don't think it's a surprise that like my stress peaked and then I got sick, right? I don't think that that's like a randomly correlated event. I think that that's a one-to-one correlation. And yeah, like I think on Friday I was very just exhausted of entertaining and like all the food and the wine and all this kind of stuff. Again, first world problems, like I'm complaining about is pathetic. Like, damn, you got to see your dad. Like, shouldn't be complaining about that. It's not a bad thing. Well, I love. I mean, I like to be social and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I need my space to recover and just be like vegetable Mike a couple days a week, where I can just sit and watch sports and go to sleep early and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, when you have people over, you can't say no to dinner, or you got to make sure that they have all their stuff. And again, first world problems. I shouldn't be complaining. Like, here's the last thing. So I had like my buddies come over, right, and they're good friends, like buddies who I've been friends with since like elementary school. I've known these guys like my whole life. They're like brothers, and we're really close. But they came here, and for them it was a vacation, and I'm here in work mode, and they're like, you wake up, you start trading at 6:30 or whatever it is, and when they wake up, they're making mimosas and they're wanting to smoke a joint or they're wanting to do whatever, and they're just like in full holiday mode. And it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. That sounds miserable. And so I think that's ultimately like where things were pretty exhausting. And then they have a beer at lunch or whatever, and it's just, yeah, I think the divergence of like trying to be serious while everyone around you is on holiday, that's kind of annoying. And I think that's where the social battery gets drained. So any questions here, team? I'm gonna go final call for questions here. Final call. I'm happy to be green here, team. I don't think I'm going to do anything else. So final call for questions here, team. Final call for questions. It's an interesting question. In general, we're kind of like, I think we're kind of setting up. Oh, no, it's fine. Like, I think we're kind of setting up for an equal move lower, equal move higher. Right. So if we're going to say that this, like let's get rid of this. And we're going to say that like the first month of the year, right, is kind of our opening range. Right. Kind of like that. I think we're setting up for equal move lower, equal move higher. So we dumped, 4,100 points, right, to the downside. I think we have that type of move to the upside here in store. So a move towards like 26,250-ish. Especially when it's a recovery on volume. So I think long term, that's where we're heading within the next few months or so. But if we've seen anything here so far this year, is that it's not going to do that in the most easy way possible. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, make the equal move higher and then basically finish back at like the opening range high of the year, right? So first month's high, first month's low, kind of close back inside that range. I think realistically, that's probably the most likely path here, especially if the Fed starts cutting rates. I think that would then be the catalyst for that all-time high move and breakout. So yeah, all things considered here, team, right? Really strong day, $2,200, right? 22.45, 27 on the day. But it's, yeah, just like the long way, right, to get there. Again, pretty good little bounce back day, all things considered, but just kind of a pain in the butt session. Just didn't, wasn't as textbook as I needed it to have been today, and that's bothering me just a little bit. So, final call for questions here, team. Final call for questions. Final call here, team. Final call. Good day, but a frustrating day. All right, team. Well, if no further questions, I'm going to kill the stream here for the day. Same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, looking forward to catching up with a few of you here in our one-on-one calls later this afternoon. And yeah, guys, we'll talk then. So have yourselves a great rest of the day. And yeah, looking forward to a smooth and calm and relaxed trading day there tomorrow. And hopefully we can kind of, kick back off, right? And keep kind of building out on this momentum. So be back at it again then. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.